Hello everyone, it's Amy and I am here for week 18 of Build Your Stash and Craft, and today we are going to do what they call in England as decoupage. We call it layering, but it's building layers up at different levels. And I watch a show over there and they have a glue called pin flare glue, but we can't get that in the United States. And it's a very heavy, theirs is clear, but it's a very heavy glue that they put a blob of it on there, on whatever they're working on, and then they set the next layer on top and it stays puffed up. And that reminded me of when I was in summer Bible school, probably about 5th grade or so, and we made decoupaged flowers for our moms and put them in a frame. And they gave us like 3 pictures, all the same, and we cut out parts and then layered them up higher and higher and then put them in this frame without a glass on the front. And so when I saw that, it reminded me, because when we did it with all-purpose caulk. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get some of that and I'm going to try it again and see how it all comes out. Now, the other thing we can do with this is we can make embellishments, our own embellishments with this, which also looks cool. Now, here is just, this is a little envelope that I made, but see how that's popped up off of there? Now you can buy the puffy tape, and I like puffy tape sometimes, but there are times when I'm doing something small and round that the puffy tape, you've got it, it's big, it's square, you've got to cut it into pieces and cut the corners off and try and get it so it doesn't show. And this is just so easy to put on something round, but it also obviously works on something that's square. And then you can also use it to make little embellishments. Now the embellishments take a while to dry, and if you can see how these all have little tips on them. Now this first one I squished it on purpose because I wanted to see drying time, but these other ones, if I try and like push on them, they really don't squash. They would squash if you push them super hard, I suppose, but we can also use these with last week's glimmer glue, and we can paint them any color that we want them and then just peel them off of the paper that you put them on. And you probably might need, no, you don't need your X-Acto knife. You can just peel them right off and then glue them to a project. So it's like having little flat back pearls. I think these are a little cool because I made them with the little domes on top. And you can use it for texture on a project. Now it does take, I did test it. At 30 minutes it skins over, and at 30 minutes I squished this one. And I squashed the whole thing because I was having fun. But you can leave it kind of rounded up and just don't touch it. After 2 hours you can paint it, and it is fully cured and hard after 72 hours. That's what's on the thing. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do this very easily. We'll start with, I just took here, I cut a piece of our cardstock and I just cut it in half and then folded it in half and then cut it in half. And then I made some watercolor paper, and I drew around it with a purple marker, and I also drew around my card with a purple marker to cover up the white. And then this I'm just actually going to glue on here, and we're going to pop that other flower on the outside of this. Oh, now see, I didn't use my glue holder and have my glue upside down, and now it wants to come out so slow. But I'm just going to glue this on here, and this is just a calendar that was Papa's calendar last year, and it even had writing on it, but that's the back side, so it doesn't matter. And I'm just going to layer this on top. And all I did was I used my X-Acto knife and I cut a 1/2 inch down and used my ruler and just held it on there and just cut that square out of the center. So I'm just going to put that on there like that. I also cut with the leftovers of this. I cut out a flower, and I'm going to put just a touch of the pin flare on the back of that. Sorry. A touch of the caulk on the back of that. Oh, I should have got it started. Oh, I need to get a pin and stick it in there. Hold on, I'll be right back. Sorry about that, I'm back. I've had this open about 2 or 3 weeks now, so it got a little bit hard on the top. I had to stick a pin in and squish some hard stuff out. but then you just squish it, and you can make your hole. I cut my hole really small because I wanted to do the embellishments. You can cut your hole any size you want, but you just make a blob like that, put it on your project, and then just set it on your paper. It needs to make contact, but don't squish it all the way down like you would with glue because you want it to stick up like that. I also made a little dome for the center, and in one of the projects I made a dome for my flower, and I just folded paper and folded paper and I really got too much here, but we're going to make it work. Oh, sorry, not a frame. I've had too much on there. And we're going to put that right on there, and it just puffs it right up, and also will keep it nice and solid. So now I am going to need, you need to be a little more careful than I did, but I got a little on the edges there. I can always go in and touch that up with a little paint, or very possibly once it's solid, just kind of peel that off, just kind of roll it off a little bit. But so there's a really simple, easy card with a popped up flower, and that's so simple. And for $1 for that whole tube, that makes it easy. Now what I've done here is for the decoupage, I just had this card that I got at a secondhand store, and I just cut out some of the flowers. Now you can tell with this one that this is in the back, that this vase is in the back. So I popped up the little pink, or I cut out the little pink vase so that it could be popped up. And then I'm just going to put some here. Oops. And then I'm going to put some here. And then I'm just going to set it right on top, kind of line it up a bit. And now that's all popped off, and I wanted that flower to stand out even farther, so I cut out one more. Just going to put a little bit there in the center. And I think I'm even going to offset that one just a little bit. And it's just fun the way that it makes them all popped up like that. And I also did one for the flower that's underneath. Now this is a little bit hard to squeeze. So if you do have dexterity problems with your hands, if squeezing is hard for you, this may be a little bit difficult. So, and other than your shirt, you're probably going to want a little rag to wipe your fingers on when you're doing something tiny like this. And you just keep layering, putting them where you want them, and it makes such a cute card. And it works really well, and it holds very well. So that was the one thing I did want to test and make sure that it wasn't going to come off afterwards. But those ones that I did are very, very solid. You kind of do the little swirly thing to get it off. Got a little tiny one here. And then you can go through and kind of adjust them. The nice thing about this too is once you set it down, if you get it in the wrong place, you can pick it back up again. I'm sorry, I'm putting this off. I'm putting the caulk on there off video. I'll watch the next one. But you can make them at different levels depending on how much of it that you put on there. And then you just give it a squeeze, and then you can do the whole, if it's not coming off, do the whole swirly thing. It came off just fine that time, of course, because there we go. And I think that's all the parts. Oh, nope, we got one more. And I just really, really like this for the round ones, for anything that's round. And you could probably get round puffy up dots too, but some of that stuff is just really not cheap. You can do a lot with this for $1. This one's a little bit high on one side, so you can just adjust it because it's wet and it takes a while to dry. You can get it all just how you want it. And so this is what that looks like, and doesn't that just look cute? And when you're done, this is super solid, so you can mail it and it should last just fine. You could do all the flowers. You could do 3 or 4 layers. But I was a little shaky last night when I was cutting it out, so I cut this many out and then I quit. But I just think, and then again, we've got this one that's puffed up, and then we could do something like, this could be a, oh, I can't think this morning, a journal page. And so I did this with my jelly plate and one of the stencils that I made. And I made this specifically for this project, so I actually pulled my jelly plate out and I made one jelly print. Well, actually I had a ghost print and that type of thing, but usually I pull it out and I play with it forever, but it really isn't that hard. I pulled it out, put the paint on, wiped it off, put it away. A lot of times, I heard somebody else say this a while back, it seems like if you get out the jelly plate, you've got to have a lot of time to play with it. It feels like you can't pull it out and just do one thing. You really can. And because it is so simple, it's simple cleanup because the paper pretty much pulls off all of your paint. So don't think that if you pull, the thing is when you pull out your jelly plate, sometimes it's very hard to put it away. That's the problem. It's not that it's hard to clean it up. It's hard to stop yourself from playing. But so, this was the stencil that I made of the flower. And so I just thought that I would do the petals and pop them onto the flower. And then I thought I might put a little saying on there that says flower power and pop that up. And I'm going to download this really quick, finish cutting these 3 out, and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and I got all my petals cut out. And what you're going to do with something that's larger like this is just put a few dots on there. Just like that, just put a few dots, layer it up where you want it. The only bad thing about this is that you have to wait for it to dry. But, when you're doing projects, you can always do something and put it aside and let it dry. Oops, almost dropped it. And work on something else while that one thing is drying. So you don't have to wait to finish that project to move on to your next. When you're doing artsy things, you're always going to have more than one project going at a time, more than likely. Or at least I do, I guess I should say. Now this one right here is a lot lower than those two, so I think as soon as I get these ones on, I'm going to pick that one back up. And I'm going to put a little bit more of the caulk on it to lift it up a little bit, because I just didn't get enough on there. And I am only putting those in the center. Now you could round these flowers if you wanted to, before, like use your, I'm all hands today. Use your scissors or whatever and round them up a little bit. And then this will hold it up off the paper so it keeps that shape. I'm only putting this right down the center. Okay, yep, this one is just too low, so I'm just gonna, and that's the one thing I do like about this is you can reposition it, you can move it around. There we go, much better. Now I just did a little flower power, and so I'm going to put that on there. And what I've always done is, if you think, well, I don't like my writing. I never liked my writing, and whenever I did anything, if I made a card or something way back when, I would write the word, and then I would put a little dot either in different colors or in the same color, just put a little dot at every little stopping point of your letters, and that just like makes it cute. You know, that takes it from I don't like my handwriting to, oh, that's cute, and I can put that on something, and I like that. The other thing is that whenever I try and cut something straight, I am always off. So if I don't want to use a ruler, I don't cut it straight, because I wind up one end's wider than the other. So then I try and adjust it, and then the other end is now wider, and I try and adjust it, and pretty soon, you know, I'm cutting into my letters because I have adjusted it so many times and it's still not straight. So if I don't feel like measuring it and I don't want to cut it straight, I just cut around it in any which way like that. And then with the flower, I just used my orange marker and went around the edges just like this. And I did have a boo-boo with when I did the flower. When I was going around the edges like this, I slipped and I went like that, and then I didn't like it. So all I did was I just took my pen and I made that part of my project, and I just made a wide edging, colored it in. And if I hadn't told you, you would have thought that when I started I meant to have that orange frame around the word. So remember, no matter what kind of mistakes you make, they're always fixable some way. You may think, oh, well, people are going to know. They're not going to know. And it really doesn't matter. It makes it look nice. I didn't have that big swipe mark on there that did look like a mistake. And I actually like it with the edging on it. And that's the thing. Sometimes when you make something and you make a mistake and you have to fix it, what you fixed, the way you fixed it, is so much prettier than what you originally had in mind. So just put that on there like that. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. Don't push too hard because it's the caulk is very soft. And so this is what we have now for this journal page. It's all popped up, and I think it looks really cute. So this is how you can do your decoupage layers. It's how you can make flowers with centers that pop up and are not going to get squished. So, and then to make little embellishments, all you have to do, now where's my napkin? I'm going to wipe the tip off, because while I was doing that, I didn't care that I got stuff all over the tip. And then all you have to do is just decide what you want to do. If you want to do like a squiggly line like that or something, just put it on a piece of paper and make a squiggly line. And then just let it dry. Okay, and if you want to make the little dots, just put it straight up and down when you do it. Squish it onto your paper and then pull it up. Now, you kind of want to start fresh. In other words, if you've got some sticking out, wipe it off. And you can make them smaller and smaller and smaller. Just like that. And so you can make your own little embellishments. You can put that right on your project and paint it, or you can do it like this on a side piece of paper, and when it's done, when it's dry, you can paint it and peel it off, or peel it off and paint it. Do it whichever way you like. But this is just a great way to make little mixed media embellishments, have mixed media texture for your projects. You can make a journal page with this, pop things up. Decoupage some different, and these are really pretty when you decoupage them even more. Like when you look at what's in the background and leave that the lowest, and then the things that would be in the foreground, make them, you know, more layers. So put like one layer on everything in the background, and then something that looks a little bit further closer, put 2 layers. Something that looks like it's in the front, put 3 layers, and it just really looks pretty. So like you could put like 3 layers of this in here and not make them so far apart. Squish it down a little bit more and make it a little closer together. Now the bottom of this is a little bit higher than the top, so I'm just going to adjust that a little bit, and there we go. Now it's nice and flat. It was kind of sticking up a little bit at the bottom, so it gives you a little working time. So that is how you make your decoupage layers. Perfect timing. It's bath day, so I'm going to have to let you go. But I hope that you enjoyed. Okay, so my phone cut out. But so this is what our decoupage looks like, and different types of mixed media textures and embellishments that we can make. And so for next week, we are going to need, from the Dollar Tree, they have a hole punch for $1. And I did try it and it works well. We are going to need, from Walmart, this is a pack of, paintbrushes. And they have a few of these large packs. They have another one that has a whole lot of like the foam brushes and stuff in it. I prefer to have some nice regular brushes, but you can choose whichever ones you want. And so this is $5. With our hole punch, it's $6. So we're going to use $1 of what we had left over from this week. And that'll still leave us $2 in our savings bank. But it's time for us to get some decent brushes to start doing some more types of things like art journaling and that type of thing. You're also going to need some of your cardstock, probably a couple of sheets, and you're going to need a couple of these are just milk rings. And they can be the same color or not the same color, so long as they're the same size. So if you don't drink milk, maybe you could get some from someone you know. Or otherwise, things I think like Gatorade might have these rings on it. I'm really not sure. But you will need 2 rings like this. And some cardboard, corrugated cardboard, regular box, heavy type. So that's what we'll need for next week. We'll need to get some paintbrushes, a hole punch, and then we'll need to have our cardstock and a couple of milk rings. So I hope that you enjoyed this week's decoupage and embellishment tutorial. And I really appreciate you stopping by and watching. Thank you very much. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.